Alma Art Interior present Dr. Yanina Gomez, Sergio Gomez, and Sharon Bladholm for book signing.
I'll sign. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate it. And, I think we should be, kind of casual and conversational. So if you have questions as I go along, you're more than welcome to, ask them instead of waiting till the end, or you can ask them at the end. But I'm just going to talk about my journey as an artist and kind of dually as an artist and an environmentalist and how those two intersect and overlap and what inspires my artwork. Some of you may have seen the show that I had some years ago at the Peggy Notabart Nature Museum, and I will, we have catalogs here from that or books or whatever. That actually got a grant from the city of Chicago from DCASE to produce, and it has 3 essays by scientists and 1 by an arts curator, Lisa Roberts. And so the idea of the catalog was, or catalog or book, whatever you want to call it, was that it be a true interface of art and science, because that's basically what I'm trying to do with my artwork. And it's really been the thread of my life for a very long time. To start at the beginning, I was actually, my very first memories of really being in nature, I was about 4. My dad was getting his degree in teaching and art at University of Madison, and they had a campground, and so we camped the whole summer. It was this really awesome campground that they'd had since the 1930s into like about 1961 or 2, which was the last summer that it existed. And I have these distinct memories of just being immersed in the forest for that whole summer. It was supposed to be 2 summers, but then they closed it. So then it's just been this continuation of my life. Then I was probably about 5 that summer. Then when I was about 8, my parents bought 40 acres of land in Door County, Wisconsin. There was no house, no running water, no electricity, just woods. And I asked my mom recently, I'm like, why did you buy that land? And she thought for a minute and she said, well, we really just wanted our own campground. That was pretty great. And so that's what we did. My dad was an artist and an art teacher, and so he, I don't know how they did it. Like a day or 2 after all us 4 kids got out of school, we would get in the VW van and drive up to Wisconsin. Whatever, that's another story. But, so we were being immersed in nature even before we had that 40 acres, but now we had our own dedicated spot that we went to for about 6 summers. My dad built a 1-room log cabin that we did not live in. It was tiny. It was like, maybe 10 by 10. It was really just shelter from the storm. If it rained for 4 days, we'd go in there and play spoons or something. And, if it was poor, we ate all our meals cooking over a fire. We'd make a breakfast fire, lunch was peanut butter jelly, dinner fire. We had like a fire pit and an outdoor kitchen. I always say it was perfect training for further expeditions into the Amazon, which I'll talk about later. But it really was, and I absolutely loved it. And it was always to me disappointing to have to come back to the suburbs and remember how to flush a toilet and things like that. But it was, my parents allowed us an awesome amount of freedom, which I think kids get less and less of now. Freedom and lodge, and just say, you don't have to give me one of your fancy rooms, I can just bring my tent. So I called what I thought was the place that was doing the artist residency, and a man answers the phone, we start talking. And I said at one point something about their artist residency. He didn't really even hear me. And then about a week later, the phone rings, and I see Amazon Discovery, and I'm thinking it's Amazon. Like they have, doesn't that sound like a credit card? Amazon Discovery. But this young man says, "Hello, this is Danny from Grand Amazon Lodge, and we had a meeting." He said we had a meeting with my parents. They're actually it's a family of all scientists. This was not the lodge that had been offering the artist residency. But I talked to him for about a half an hour, and finally I said, we were just excitedly talking about the Amazon and the rainforest, and I said, well, yeah, I know you used to do this artist residency and give the artists a room, but in our small way, I just met with some of the rainforest people last Sunday. We all reconnected through the internet. But, yeah, so seeds, I'm still really fascinated with seeds and not finished with them at all. I intend to do more work about seeds and of course more work about the environment. And I don't know, I don't know how long I've been talking. Do people have any questions at this point, or should I keep going? I have more stories. Yeah.
Curious about the seeds, like as far as how do you store them, or is there any conditions that they need to be stored?
You know, whatever I can do in my small way, I'm trying to do. Any more questions?
I got one, Sharon.
Yeah.
How are they made?
Oh, the Earth Stars or the seeds? The seeds, I would actually, I just start with a glob of clay and I just start sort of pushing it kind of sloppy like into my hand until, but I'm sculpting one half at a time. So I'd sculpt the left side and then the right side and then join them. It's mainly with my hands, and then once I get one half and the other half and then join them, and then to make the multiples, after I read the quote by Darwin, then I made mainly plaster molds, a few rubber molds for really complex, press one half and the other half, and then join them, kind of the way. The seeds lent themselves because they're kind of two-sided to taking molds. This would be a really complicated mold to try to take them. I mean, you could do it, but I made probably over 100 Earth Stars, and each one is completely unique. And even the seeds, even though, I do have molds of them, they come bronze, but if you take a mold, it's sort of like insurance. If anything goes wrong, you have a mold that you can pour another wax, so you have, bronze casting is complicated. It's a lot of, we'll see, let's see.
The seed.
Well, this was one of my favorite ones. I think it's really beautiful, and it's sundew seed. So this, I did not actually see the seed. It was not one and I forgot to say that. I was about to say it a couple times and my mind went somewhere else. About half the seeds, I don't know quite how this collection would break down, but in the original 65 seeds, about half were temperate, from temperate habitats from the Midwest, and about half were tropical. The idea, once again, back to, yes, it's amazing to go to the Amazon, but there's amazing things in nature right here. And the seeds of the Midwest were just as fascinating as the ones in the Amazon. This is a sundew seed, which is a carnivorous plant, and it's a very, very tiny seed, so you would not be able, to see this detail without a microscope. So, but some of this, it was all different ways. Some of the seeds I found in the Amazon, and I didn't bring any of those home with me because I didn't want to end up in a Peruvian prison, or biopiracy, but I photographed them and drew them while I was in the jungle. And then I went up to the Botanic Garden when I was working on the project, and it's a Midwestern plant. I love the way it looks like a little leaf folded over. I can't remember what the plant is. This is Amazonian. And thank you for all coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Shay, for driving all the way from Peoria. And for everyone else.
Good talk, Sharon. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.